Good afternoon. It is Thursday, August 23rd, 4:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today, I want to talk to you about credit and what credit is, how credit is established, and what it means to have a credit score. First, let's define what credit means. And according to Google, credit is defined as the ability of a customer to obtain goods or services before payment, based on the trust that payment will be made in the future. In other words, you are borrowing money from a lender because you don't have the money yourself at the moment. And so you establish a line of credit with the lender that you are asking to borrow money from. And so credit has been around for a very long time, but it hasn't always been defined the way that it is today. One example is from the 1920s when places like Sears were distributing to the community at that time mail order catalogs. And so wives and husbands would be mailed a Sears catalog, and they would be flipping through all of the pages of like, oh, look at that. That's a swing set. Oh, what is that? A barbecuer? Oh my God, that looks so cool. I wish I could buy that. What is that? Is that a garden hose? Oh my goodness. Is that a couch? Look, sweetie, they have a couch on here for sale. And more often than not, you would be fantasizing about the things that you could buy while skimming through a catalog that was sent to you in the mail. And in the catalog, it was advertised, buy now and pay later, but pay me back with interest. And this is one of the first modern ways that credit was established with the people, is that you would be sent a mail order catalog to your home address. You would look through the catalog and you would fantasize and desire things that you wanted to order from the catalog. And so you would establish a line of credit with the company that you're trying to obtain something from. And so you would order something for $100, and you would have to pay them based on the terms that are outlined in the agreement likely made between you and whoever it is that you're borrowing from. And so you likely paid them back, let's just say $10 a month, which took you 10 months to pay off something for $100. But each month it was $10 plus a dollar added in interest for those 10 months. And so you paid back $110, and the company made $10 in interest from letting you borrow, letting you have the piece of furniture or whatever you wanted, and then them paying for the furniture for you and you paying them back with interest. And so that was one of the first modern ways that credit was established, is through companies that advertise to you things that you wanted to buy, but likely probably didn't really need. And so in today's modern times, we establish credit by taking out things like loans, applying for things like housing mortgages. Today, we establish credit with lenders by taking out what is called a credit card, just as I just explain to you that there was a line of credit in the mail order catalog that is similar to a credit card. And so one of the ways that we establish credit as well is, like I said, buying furniture. You go to a furniture store, and just like it was conducted in the 1920s by mail, this time you go in person to the furniture store, and instead of buying whatever it is that you wanted to buy through the mail in catalog sent to your house, well, then you go to the furniture store and they say, I'll give you this bed mattress that you want right now, and you don't have to pay anything. Next month is when you can start to pay me because you don't have the money. So buy now, pay later. And so you're at the furniture store and you're trying to buy a mattress and you don't have the money this month because your check doesn't come in for another month. Well, the furniture store sales representative tells you a speech and gets you to buy that mattress that's supposedly on sale for, let's say, $50. And so you go home having to pay nothing, $0, which sounds like a great deal because you didn't pay anything. And so the furniture store tells you you can go home with this mattress today and you don't have to pay anything. But starting next month, you're going to pay me $10 a month for 5 months. But on top of the $10 that you're going to pay me for 5 months, which totals to $50, which was the original price of the mattress, you're going to pay me $5 extra, which equals $25 total in interest. You established a line of credit with the furniture store. And so what sounded like a great deal because you got to purchase the mattress by paying nothing up at all up front, but you agreed to their terms by buy now, pay later, which then totals out to $75 for the mattress instead of you just saving $50 and not having to pay that extra $25 because now you have to pay them back the agreement that you made with them in $25 in interest. And so you establish a line of credit with them. And one of the ways that this is recorded is electronically. Every Not every payment, but most payments that you establish a line of credit with get recorded electronically. You likely have to sign a contract. You likely have to hand over some paperwork and your social security number or your phone number and your name, and then the furniture company will tell the three credit bureaus, which is pretty much the record company of all of the things that you establish on credit. In other words, the credit bureaus are like the school records board. When you're at school and you're going and attending school, there is something that's called your permanent record. And it's a record of all of the classes you've taken, all of the teachers you've had, your name, your phone number, where you live. Your permanent record is identified to only you and not a single person else, only you. Your permanent record at school has a record of all your disciplinary issues, your attendance. Your permanent record has your allergies, the medications that you're on, if you're on, your emergency contact. And so when you establish credit in modern times, it goes on what is your permanent record in a sense, where the credit that you take out, as I gave you the example of taking a line of credit out with the furniture store and you not paying anything, well, the agreement that you take out with that furniture store is 30 days no payment. But after the 30 days are over, you're going to pay back the furniture store $10 a month for 5 months. And so the furniture store needs to keep track of who you are, just like the school needs to keep track and keep an accurate record of everything that has happened to you at school. In the same way, the furniture store needs to keep a record of who you are and where you live and who knows you, just in case you decide not to pay. And so they need to contact people that know you, just like on your permanent record, there's emergency contacts like whoever's taking care of you or whoever lives in your home. So the furniture store has a record and a log and notes about you, personal information about you, because they're not going to just give anybody that comes into the store a mattress without first establishing a permanent record with whoever it is that is wanting to purchase a mattress from them. And a lot of the times they ask for your ID and your phone number, and your phone number is linked to your name specifically. And so it's identified as you. Your phone number is identified with you. And so that gets reported to the three main credit bureaus. Just like your permanent record gets recorded at the school that you attend, but there's also a file on you as a student with the district. So that's two places that hold your records of you as a student. At the school, they have a permanent record on you, and then your information gets reported to the district, which has a permanent record on you. And then the district reports that information to the Department of Education, which keeps track of all of the students that are registered at the school. So that's three different places that have information on you about your status as a student. There is the school that keeps a record of you, the district keeps a record of you, and the Department of Education keeps a record on you. That's three completely separate organizations that keep a record and keep a file of everything about you as a student. In the same way, there are three different agencies that keep a record of every single thing that you have established as a credit. So the furniture store reports to the three credit bureaus everything that you agree to with the furniture store. And so when you make that agreement with the furniture store to buy now, pay later, you are establishing a relationship with the furniture store, but also establishing a relationship with the three credit bureaus. And each of the credit bureaus are keeping track of all of the information that is reported to them. Just like your teachers report information about you to the school, just like the district reports information about you to the Department of Education, the furniture store reports information to you to the credit bureaus, and then they establish a relationship with you based off of your trustworthiness. If you don't attend school and you become truant, what happens? You're penalized. You might be get sent to detention if you don't attend school. What happens if you don't do your homework? Well, then you start to fail, and then you get left behind a grade. What happens if you get in a fight at school? Well, then you get sent to the principal's office, and that is recorded as a disciplinary action against you on your permanent record. Well, in the same way, when you tell the furniture store, I'm going to pay you back, and you don't pay them back, they're going to report you in the same way that the school reports you when you misbehave, when you don't attend school, and when you are getting bad and bad grades. The furniture store will report you to very important organizations, just like the school will report you to the district, and the district will report you to the Department of Education. Then the Department of Education will then be notified of your misbehaving or or your irresponsibility to your duties as a student, because you have duties as a student. You have duties. You have to show up to class. You have to keep out of trouble, and you have to do your homework. There is responsibility as a student that you have as a duty as duties. You have to have a little bit of responsibility when you're a student. Just in the same way, there's responsibility that you have when you tell the furniture company, buy now, pay later. They're going to expect you 30 days from the day that you bought the piece of furniture, which was the mattress, to pay them back $10 a month, starting 1 month later from the day that you purchased the mattress. And if you don't pay back the agreement and what you established in the contract that you have with the furniture, then there's going to be repercussions. There's going to be negative outcomes and impacts that are going to affect you and your future. Just like when you don't attend school, or you get in trouble at school, or you're causing an outrage in class, there are consequences that will happen to you in your future. You might get kicked out of school, or you might have a negative outcome in your home life. It affects your future. And so you don't want to get bad grades because it'll affect your future. You don't want to have outbursts in school because it'll affect your future. And you might get kicked out of school, and you might have a hard time making new friends at your other school, which will then affect your mental health. And then you'll cause stress with your parents at home because now they have to drive you farther away from your home to go to a school because you were being irresponsible at school, at your first school, and now you're getting in a fight with your parents because they're frustrated with you because they have to wake up an hour earlier on top of the sleep that they don't already have, and now you're affecting your parents in a negative way, which then all of that affects your future. It affects the way that the teachers will treat you. It affects the way that you treat yourself as a student, and then you stop caring, and then you drop out of school, and then your future is in jeopardy. In the same way, if you, in the same way that you have to be responsible as a student and fulfill your obligations and your role as a student, is the same way that you have to fulfill your obligations when you ask a lender to lend you money, and you don't you don't you don't you don't pay back to the lenders what you said you were going to pay them, then there's going to be repercussions with those actions that you made in deciding not to pay them back. And they're going to report you to the three credit bureaus. And there's going to be a record of you not paying back what you said you were going to pay back. And it's going to affect your future because now that you acted irresponsibly with that furniture store, and then 2 years down the road, you're going to need to take out a credit card, or you're going to need to build credit so you can buy a car. It's going to affect you negatively in your future. And you're going to have to be paying back higher interest because of the irresponsibility that you had in handling your relationship with the furniture store. So there is a high level of responsibility that you have as a student, and your obligations and your roles that you need to fulfill as a student, in the same way that there is a high level of responsibility that you take on when you ask for money from a lender so you can have something that they have that you want. And so it's very important that you wait to purchase things from any company if you don't really probably need whatever it is that you want to get. Is it worth spending $25 in interest to buy a mattress when if you would have just waited 1 month, the mattress would have gone down to $40 and you could have saved $40 in 1 month, but instead you bought something for $50 from the furniture store like the mattress and ended up having to pay $25 in interest, which turns out to be a total of $75. But if you would have just waited, you you could have bought something. You could have bought that same mattress for $40 instead of $75. And so, uh, having credit, having credit. Sorry, I'm receiving text messages. Having having an established line of credit is you taking on the role of financial responsibility. You want to have a great relationship with the people that you're asking to borrow money from. It's just like asking your uncle to borrow money, and you ask your uncle to borrow $100. What's going to happen when you don't pay back your uncle that $100 that you asked to borrow from him? Let's say that your uncle is very wealthy and you ask to borrow $100 from your uncle, and what's going to happen if you don't pay him back? If he's successful and he's responsible with his financial with his finances, if he's responsible with his finances and you don't pay back your uncle, there might be a time in the future where paying back your uncle at the time that you said you were going to pay him back could have really benefited you. Because what if you need to buy a house, or what if you need to borrow money for something else later in the future? And if you didn't pay back your uncle the $100 that you said you were going to pay him back, you could really establish a broken relationship with your uncle, and he might not ever want to lend you money again. In the same way that you wouldn't want to establish a bad relationship and not pay back the furniture company the money that you agreed to pay them back, because they're going to report you not only to the three credit bureaus, but it will also have a negative impact when you need to borrow money from another creditor, like a car loan company, because the furniture store will report to the three credit bureaus, and then when you want to buy a car later, the people that are selling you a car, you may not have the money to buy the car, so you might have to borrow money from a car lender, and little do you know is that the furniture store company reported to the three credit bureaus that you missed a payment or that you decided not to pay them back what you owed them. Well, now when you go buy a car, the credit card, the now when you go buy a car, the auto loan lenders know in your permanent record, if you will, that you had a bad relationship with the furniture company, and they will know that you didn't pay them back. And so what you did is you caused your future to be in jeopardy by handling the furniture loan contract and agreement irresponsibly and immaturely. So you want to have a good relationship with people that you're borrowing money from, because you never know when you're going to need their help. You never know when you might need to borrow money again. And so it's important, it's very important, never to borrow money that you know that you can't pay back in the agreement that you made with whoever it is that you're borrowing money from. And so you can look at credit as a way of establishing a financial relationship with people that you need to borrow money from. And you never want to borrow money, as I said, from a lender knowing that you are going to struggle paying them back. You always want to make sure you pay the credit lenders. You always want to make sure you pay your bills, because, as I mentioned earlier, what's going to happen if you need to borrow money in the future, but you decided to act irresponsibly and not fulfill the terms of the agreement with whoever it is that you made a contract with. And so you want to build trust. You want to be responsible. You want to pay back the money that you owe to the people that you borrow money from. And the sooner that you pay them off, the better. Because let's say you go back. Let's talk about the furniture store. You borrowed $50, and you have to pay them back $5 in interest per each month that you borrow money from them. But let's say after 2 months, you come, you somehow come into a little bit of money. And so after 2 months, you owe them still the amount owed of $50, which was the original price of the mattress. But instead of paying them the $25 that you were going to pay them for the total length of the contract, which was 5 months, $10 a month for 5 months. Well, now you're only going to pay back the original purchase price, but let's just say 2 months later you come into a little bit of money, and so you pay them off completely, but you're only ended up paying $10 in interest instead of paying them the $25 that it would have taken you, instead of paying them back $25 in interest, which was the original agreement that you made with them. Now you only paid them back $10 in interest. So the total that you borrowed from them was $60 instead of the $75 that it would have took you to fulfill a 5 month long contract. And so, oh wow, it's important that you pay back the people that you borrow money from. The sooner the better, because, and let's just, as I said, you came into 2 months. In 2 months, you came into some money, and so now you saved yourself $15 in interest, and that $15 could be saved. It could be spent elsewhere. And so even though you take out a line of credit with the furniture store company and that you buy a mattress for $50, and for 5 months you have to pay back $10 a month plus $5 in interest each month, it doesn't mean that you have to pay them back in 5 months. You could pay them back, the sooner the better, because you don't want to be spending that money in interest. So the sooner that you pay somebody back, better, because you don't want to be spending money in interest that you don't have to. So yes, you they told you to pay them back $10 a month for 5 months, but what if you pay them back $20 a month? What if you pay them back $30 a month? So just because you take out a contract or a line of credit with the furniture company store and they tell you to pay $10 a month, it doesn't mean that you pay them $10 a month. If you could pay them 20, you pay them 20. If you could pay them 30, you pay them 30. The sooner that you pay it off, the less interest that you will have, which is better for you. And so a credit score is established by the credit bureaus when you begin to have relationships with lenders. You have a relationship with the furniture store, and then the credit the line of credit that you have with the furniture store is reported to the credit bureaus, the three credit bureaus, and then the credit bureaus use an algorithm to use the information that is reported to them from places like the furniture store to establish a credit score. And that is how a credit score is generated. In the same way that you play a game like Call of Duty, you play a game like of Call of Duty and you earn XP points. And the more XP points that you earn, the more that you prestige. And so there is an algorithm that is kept in playing Call of Duty, like certain like types of gameplay will get you more XP points. And so that the more points you have, the more that you can prestige. And people will see online what level of prestige you're at. And so all of your in gameplay is reported to the server, which is the Call of Duty server, which then in turn gets you to be able to purchase things from your XP points. Well, that's the same way that the credit bureaus kind of work. The more that you pay off what you agree to, the better you will have at being able to purchase things later in the future with other credit lenders. In the same way that you establish XP points and you're able to buy things with those XP points because you are playing in the in game and in gameplay is earning you XP points. Well, in gameplay with the furniture store is paying back what you owe, paying back what you agreed on. In the same way, gameplay at the school is fulfilling your obligations to yourself as a student. It's in gameplay. You're in a game, and you need to be a good player in order for you to get rewarded for being a good player. And so a credit score is generated for you when you are doing and you a credit score is generated for you when you are doing what you agreed to do, which is to pay back the lender in whatever terms and conditions that you agreed on. And so that is how a credit score is established. And so missing a payment or being late on a payment or not paying the lender at all, it'll put your future in jeopardy and you will be penalized for it. And you will have a hard time being able to ask for money in the future with other lenders. So it's important to never borrow money if it is too risky for you. Never borrow money that you can't afford to pay back because sometimes buying something right now, well, the risk is too much. You're going to risk your future for buying something that you could have just waited. And so The three credit bureaus are a record keeper of the money that you have borrowed from other lenders. They keep track of the money that is owed to the lenders, and the three credit bureaus in turn establish a credit score for you based off of your relationship with the lenders. You don't want to have a bad relationship with the credit bureaus. You want to pay back the lenders that you owe money to, so the algorithm works in your favor. Your credit your credit report, it has everything about you. In the same way that your school has a permanent record on you, is the same way that the credit bureaus have a permanent record on you, about you. The credit bureaus have every single lender that you ever asked to borrow money from. Your credit report will have that information. Your credit report has all of the information about you that you report to the lender. So if you go to the furniture store and you give them your name, your address, your workplace, your phone number, they will report that information to the credit bureaus, and the credit bureaus will then have a record or a log of who you are. And the credit bureaus use your social security number as a way to identify you specifically, as everybody has a different social security number. And so the credit bureaus not only use the information from the lenders to establish a credit score on you, but they also have information about you, like your name, the address you live at, the workplace that you work at, the phone numbers that have been reported to them. They have an outline of all of the credit that you have from lenders. They have a profile of you, of all of the payments that you are currently making. They have a profile of you, of how much the minimum payment that you owe to other lenders. They have the length of contracts, and they have the agreement that you establish with other lenders. And so it's just like going to the library at your school. When you go to the library at your school and you take out a library card, well, there's certain terms and conditions that you have with the library. When you get a library card, you promise to return the book on time, and you promise to pay late fees if you don't return the book. Well, in the same way, when you go to the furniture store, you are under terms and conditions of the furniture store. You promise to pay them back, you promise to pay them on time, and you promise not to miss a payment, or you promise also not to quit the contract because you owe them the money that they gave you for giving you the mattress. When you go to the library and you get a library card, they have all of the information about you, because you have to have an application. And on that application, you report your phone number, your address, your name, your emergency contacts, just in case you don't return the book to the library. And so the library has a record of you, and the library has a record of all of the books that you check out. The library has information about you on all of the times that you did not return a book on time. And what happens when you're late returning a book? Well, then the library is not going to let you, the library is not going to want to lend you a book anymore because you did not follow the terms and conditions that you originally agreed to when you took out the library card. So you want to have a good level of trust with the library. And in order to have a good level of trust with the library, you have to return the book on time. You have to pay any late fees that might have to be charged to you for returning a book late. And you don't want to ghost the library when you have books that you checked out from them. Because if you ghost the library and they're not able to get in contact with you, just like you might ghost the furniture store and they're not able to get in contact with you, the library is going to report you to the school. The school is going to report you to all of the other libraries, and then you jeopardize your future. And now, no library in your county or your city that you live at is going to let you lend anything from the library again. In the same way, you don't want to ghost the furniture store company because they're going to report you to the three credit bureaus, and then the credit bureaus are going to report you to every lender that does business with the credit bureaus, which is a lot of lenders, and you're going to jeopardize your future. So having a library card is like having a credit card. You want to pay back the bills that you agreed on when you take out credit in the same way that you want to return the book that you have on your library card. In the same way that the library card has information on you based off of the application that you turned in, is the same way that the credit bureaus have information on you from the application that you submitted to the lender that you asked to take out money from, which is the furniture store. So, in the same way that the furniture store makes you fill out an application and that application gets reported to the furniture store, is the same way that the application that you submitted to the library gets reported to the school. And so, there's always going to be a record and a profile of you when you ask lenders to borrow money, because they're not going to borrow money. They're not going to let you borrow money from you without first identifying you, without first getting your address and your ID, and without first getting emergency contacts from you. And so having a library card is a responsibility. Having a credit card is a responsibility. Having an established line of credit with the furniture store company is a responsibility. And you don't want to jeopardize your future by not not paying back what you owe, and not fulfilling the terms and conditions in which you agreed upon. So why do you need credit? What's the point of credit? Why do you need credit? Well, we need credit because more often than not, we never have the money to buy things that we want. And so that's why we ask for credit, because we need to establish a good relationship with lenders in order for us to be seen as being financially responsible, because not many of us grow up with large sums of money. And so we have to borrow money. We have to borrow money to buy things like a couch or a TV or a phone. We have to borrow money to buy things like a car. And we have to buy money for things like emergency medical bills. We have to borrow money. I mean, we have to borrow money for things like emergency medical bills, or you might be moving and you have no money and you're switching jobs and you might need to take out a loan because you're moving and you don't start working at your new job at the new location for another 2 weeks. And so you have to borrow money from the bank in order for you to get get by within those 2 weeks that you're not working. And so you take out credit to prove to people, which are the lenders, that you're responsible with money. And you don't want to act irresponsibly with money because it will have a very negative impact on your future. And you want to be able for the lenders to trust you. You want to be able for credit card lenders and banks to trust you with money. And so that is why we ask, that is why we build credit. We build credit because we want to establish good relationships with credit lenders and companies just in case we need to make large purchases and borrow money that we don't have. And so uh, that is a very basic understanding of how credit works. And it's important that you recognize that you don't need to buy something just because you want it in the moment. Sometimes it's important to wait and to be patient because you might not actually need whatever it is that you want to buy because the price of that item could go down a month later, or a newer model might come out and you want that one instead of the one you bought. And so it's important to be responsible and to maintain a level of discipline when it comes to buying things in the right time. There's a time and place to buy things, there's a time and place to refrain from buying things. There's a time and place to ask for credit, and there's a time and place to establish a line of credit when it works out in your best interest. There's a time and place to save, just like there's a time and place not to ask for credit, not to take out that loan, not to buy that car, not to take out that credit card, not to apply for credit cards, because there's a time and place for everything, and you must be responsible. I know that was a lot of information, but I hope that I've now given you a basic understanding of what the credit bureaus are and what a credit score is. Till next time, guys. Peace.